Okay, today we're going to be working on Unit 4, Lesson 1 notes. These are the Introduction to Rational Functions. So if you look at the picture on the top, this is for the equation f of x equals 1 over x. What do you notice about it? So maybe you can think that there may be some asymptotes in here, lines that we get close to but never really cross. We actually do have some asymptotes here. We have an asymptote right here. It's not going to cross. We also have one going across here. Maybe you can say we do have a reflection, okay, across this line. Oops. Whatever's on the left is on the right. We do have that. We could have also gone the other way. There's many different things you could have noticed about this. All right, so let's try number 1. It says, imagine you won the lottery and were giving a big pot of money. Of course, you would want to share the money with your family and friends. If you split the money evenly between you and your friend and one friend, what would be each person's share of the money? Well, if you're only sharing it between you and one other person, you each get half the money. Now, if you had between 3 people, if you had to share it, you each would get 1/3. So now let's go ahead and make a table for this one, and we're going to graph it. And we're going to get, so here we're going to get x and y. So if we are just sharing, we each get one share. If I'm only sharing with one person, me, I get the whole thing. If I share it between 2 people, we each get 1/2. If I share it between 3 people, I get 1/3. And you can keep going down. 4 people is 1/4. And I'm just going to go down. If I had to share it between 10 people, it would be 1/10. And this equation, we're going to be calling it f of x equals 1 over x. Let me change the position of my computer just a minute. Okay. All right, and so we're going to graph it at 1. So at 1, it is 1. At 2, it's 1/2. At 3, it's 1/3, which is 0.33. 4, it's 1/4, so it's 0.25. At 10, it's 1/10, which is 0.1. And we can see, drawing with, this is not always going to be perfect. We're going to go down. And just in case you didn't think about the really big numbers, if you had to share it with 1,000 people, you each would get 1 out of 1,000. If you shared it with 100,000 people, you each would get 100,000ths of a share. And if you were doing with 100 million, you would get out of 100 millionths. Okay, now think about it. As our graph is getting closer and closer to x going to infinity, going and going and going and going, we're getting closer to the y value of 0. It's going down towards 0. It's not going to reach it, but it is getting close to it. And that's what we want to be working on. Okay? Now, if we go on to the next page, now let's work on this one. So here we're going to create a table for 1 over x, and we're going to put some negative numbers in it because we already have the positive numbers. And we're going to describe it the intervals. Okay, so basically we're going to go and do domain and range. and we're going to talk about decreasing and the end behavior and decide if this is a odd or even function. Okay. All right. So the first thing we want to do, let's go ahead and draw. Let's draw. Whoa, that's a pretty bad line. Okay, let's see. A little bit better. My hand didn't want to move it as much. Here we have that. And then we're going to get some X and Y table. And I'm going to just bring it up here just because of having some room. And I'm going to go Y. And I'm going to say if X is -1, then I'm going to get -1. If X is -2, it's going to give me -1/2. If X was -3, it would give me -1/3. But what if I had -1/2? Okay, what we're doing with that one, we're going to go 1 over -1/2, means we're dividing, right? So that's equal to 1 divided by -1/2. And if we're dividing by a fraction, we can change that to be 1 times, and we're going to flip it. So this one actually becomes -2. And if we did -1/3, we'd actually get -3 because we are flipping it. Okay. So with our negative numbers, we're going to go ahead and graph this. There we go. Just so I can see my numbers. So at -1, it's going to be at -1. And if I do -2, it's going to be 1/2. -3 is 1/3. We can see it going up. And here, if I go -1/2, it's going to give me -2. -1/3 will give me -3. So we can interpret this. It's going to be coming down like this, and we're going to be closer to it. Now the other one, we knew it was graphing from the previous page. We're going to have something like this. Okay, so we're going to talk about domain, range, our decreasing, and we're going to talk about end behavior. Just abbreviating these a little bit to make it just easier to write. All right, so our domain, so those are your X values. We know that we're going to go from -infinity, and we're going to get close to 0. But we're never really going to reach 0, so this is why I have a parentheses. Parentheses means we get close to it. If we actually get to 0, we would put a bracket. And then I'm going to combine it. And once we hit the 0, once we go past 0, it goes to the positive infinity range. And if you notice, our range is our X value, our Y values. It's going to do the exact same thing. We're going to be on the negative infinity sign. And as soon as we get close to 0, we skip it and we go to the positive side. Now, we are decreasing. So the neat thing is when we're talking about decreasing, we always start from left to right, and we're going to follow it. And if we follow this, it's always decreasing. And same thing with on the right. If we follow it, it's always going to be decreasing. So it's going to be the exact same thing we just wrote from the previous ones. Now the end behavior, as X goes towards infinity, f of X goes towards 0. And as X goes towards negative infinity, f of x is also going to go towards 0 because we're never going to reach it. And if we put in an answer here, this one is actually going to be an odd function, if you remember this from last chapter. All right. Now, down here, I did give you some interesting facts about it, so you can take your time, read through it, see if you can find any information that may make more sense for you. All right, now you can go ahead and work on your assignment.